What if the person you understand the least is the one standing right in front of you? Not a stranger, not an enemy, someone you love, someone you've known for years. And yet, at some point, they did something that caught you completely off guard. They reacted in a way you never expected. They left. Or they stayed when you were sure they'd go. Or they said something that made you realize, in one cold, quiet moment, that you didn't actually know them at all. We just move on. We label people. We say they're complicated or unpredictable, or that they changed. And we keep living, surrounded by people we think we understand, until the next moment of surprise knocks us sideways again. But most of us spend our entire lives trying to avoid this. We are not very good at understanding other people. And the reason isn't that people are mysterious. The reason is that we stopped looking. There's a researcher named Nicholas Epley, a behavioral scientist at the University of Chicago, who has spent decades studying what he calls the illusion of understanding. His work arrives at a conclusion that sounds simple. We spend the majority of our time with other people thinking about ourselves. We're not reading them. We're projecting onto them. We're filling in the blanks with our own fears, our own history, our own needs. We think we're listening. We're actually just waiting for the world to confirm what we already believe. And that gap between who someone actually is and the story we've written about them in our heads, that's where every misunderstanding, every fight, every silent estrangement begins. So what would it actually mean to close that gap? Paul Ekman, the psychologist who spent 40 years studying the human face, found that every emotion, every single one, leaves a trace on the body before the person is even aware they're feeling it. A flash of contempt, a flicker of fear, a tightening of the jaw that says I am hurt, even when the mouth is saying I'm fine. We are all broadcasting our inner world, constantly, whether we mean to or not. The question is whether anyone is tuned in enough to receive the signal. Here's what changes when you actually start paying attention. You stop being surprised. Not because people become predictable, but because you begin to understand the logic underneath what looks like chaos. Every human behavior, no matter how strange or painful or confusing, makes perfect sense when you understand the wound that created it. The friend who always cancels at the last minute isn't flaky. She's terrified of disappointing people, so she delays commitment until the last possible moment to avoid the weight of expectation. The man who gets defensive every time you offer feedback isn't arrogant. He grew up in a home where criticism was never just feedback. It was a forecast of rejection. None of this means excusing bad behavior. Understanding is not forgiveness. It's not agreement. It's not surrender. And the moment you do that, something remarkable happens. Your anger softens. Not because the thing that hurt you stops mattering, but because the person who did it becomes human again. Fully, frustratingly, heartbreakingly human. There's a cost to this, though, a real one. Nobody tells you about it. When you truly understand someone, not the version of them you needed them to be, but who they actually are, you can no longer be as comfortable in your resentments. You can't hold on to certain stories. The narrative of them as villain, as burden, as mystery you never asked to inherit, it starts to fall apart. It holds up our sense of self, our sense of being right, our very careful, very practiced sense of being the person who was hurt here. Understanding costs you the comfortable lie, and that is not a small thing. But what you get in return is something most people spend their whole lives chasing. You get real contact with another person. Not a performance, not a projection, not a memory or a hope or a wound dressed up in someone else's face. You get them. So ask yourself, who in your life have you stopped actually seeing? Who have you filed away under a label? Difficult, distant, selfish, cold, and stopped looking beyond it. Because everyone is trying. Almost always, in the only way they know how, with the tools they were given, fighting battles you can't see, toward goals you might not understand. Everyone, at their core, is looking for the same thing, to be known. Not admired, not agreed with, known. The tragedy isn't that people are hard to understand. The tragedy is that most of us never really try, and the people we love most, the ones who sleep in the next room, sit across from us at dinner, call on the hard days, they are still waiting, still hoping that someone will look close enough and long enough and gently enough to actually find them. That someone could be you. All it costs is your